Well, congratulations to the class of 2016. You know, this is really your very own glorious day. And as I look around you, even into the distance of this vast hall, I see the beaming faces of your friends and your family, all of whom share in this special day. All of them, including your professors here on the podium, take pride in your accomplishments. I want to welcome all of you, families, friends, our faculty and administration, the SUNY and FIT trustees, honorees, and distinguished guests. A special welcome to Dean Nevin Gursoy from Istanbul Technical University, who joins us today with her distinguished faculty colleagues to celebrate the 26 students who graduate as part of FIT's dual degree program with ITU. Now, each person who is here today adds to the joy of the moment for our graduates. And you know, inevitably, it falls to a college president to provide a piece of parting advice, perhaps even wisdom for those of you leaving our command. But you have come of age at the start of the 21st century. So you are famously the millennials. And if research on you is right, perhaps we boomers and Gen Xers should be turning to you for advice. I'll get to that in a moment. But I want to dwell first on the world into which you are being launched, the hyperlinked world that we offer you now that the 20th century has, of course, come and gone. It's a world of great confusion. It's noisy and it's rancorous. It's a world whose soundtrack, as we see so painfully in this election year, is filled with anger and discord and disrespect. President Obama tells a story of having received a letter from a kindergarten child in Virginia. "Are people being nice?" the child asked. "Are people being nice?" Let me try to answer that. While you were still toddlers, TV talking heads turned into screaming heads, each out shouting the other with no pretense of real debate. Today, TV judges routinely call litigants morons and idiots, which is nothing really if you compare it to what we continue to hear from the radio shock jocks who fill the air with hatred, targeted at anyone and everyone, even the disabled. Rappers degrade women, politicians toss polarizing insults at each other. This one is a fascist, that one's a communist. They call each other liars and baby killers. The bloggers bully and they spew venom at everyone, from elected officials to work colleagues to vulnerable adolescents. Members of Congress are spit upon and threatened with death. The president is called a traitor, a feckless weakling. Are people being nice? Is it any wonder that in this election cycle, our candidates feel free to slur and demonize and infect the public arena with locker room vulgarities? As one observer noticed, in-your-face aggressive rudeness is commonplace today throughout our culture, and civility, if not dead, is on life support in intensive care. So this ugliness and incivility is really not new in America, or anywhere else in the world for that matter, especially in times of change. Our own turbulent history is studded with examples of demagoguery and yellow journalism and hysterical hyperbole and character assassination. Andrew Jackson's wife was famously called a wench and his mother a common prostitute. In the run-up to the Civil War, a US senator was caned and left unconscious by a member of the House. And as all you hip-hop fans know, Alexander Hamilton was killed in a duel with Aaron Burr after Hamilton called Burr despicable. So no, incivility itself is not new. But the way in which it is communicated today is. And its impact is far more universal and far more destructive. If there's an insult to be hurled, it will happen in a nanosecond, thanks to the transformative technology of the 21st century, and everyone on earth will be able to hear it, to see it, and to react to it. Thanks to this 24/7 echo chamber in which we now live, incivility is often in the very air that we breathe. So for a democracy, this is alarming, even dangerous, and poll after poll shows that the American public agrees. In a nation this diverse, a nation made up of more than 300 million people, democracy is inherently difficult. It is, as President Obama has said, messy, contentious, and complicated. But if we value it, and surely we do, then we have no choice but to bring civil discourse back to the public arena. We can't expect to solve our problems if all we do is tear each other down, the president has said. We must maintain a basic level of civility in our public debate. Words matter. They can, as one observer said, clarify or cloud, inflame or inspire. They can exacerbate intolerance or they can heal, as Abraham Lincoln did when he spoke of malice toward none and charity toward all. Yes, democracy is difficult, and so is civility. It is, as one educator put it, the sum of the many sacrifices we are called upon to make for the sake of living together. It requires self-restraint, self-censorship, respectful engagement, goodwill, and what is sometimes called a sensitive awareness of the feelings of others. Indeed, in order to build a culture that nurtures the democracy that we cherish, a culture in which civil discourse can again take place, we need to be able to step back and to think critically. We need knowledge, we need facts, both about ourselves and about the others, whoever they may be, all those others that we feel so free to denigrate. Most essentially, we need that quality of character called empathy, an ability to think what it might be like to be in the shoes of another. I think of a story that you may be familiar with. It's about a deeply religious man who, in 1959, answered the biblical call to bear one another's burden. He was a journalist, a white man who had his skin darkened medically and set out on a 6-week journey through the Jim Crow South as a black man to answer questions that had long been haunting him. What would it be like, he wondered, to experience discrimination based on color? What adjustments would he have to make to live in a black man's shoes? The man was John Howard Griffin, and his was not idle curiosity. He was a Southerner, and he was deeply disturbed by the racial injustices he had witnessed all around him. Well, he got his answer. In his book called Black Like Me, he recounts in intimate detail the new world that he entered, a world of fear, alienation, and loneliness, a world in which he moved with profound trepidation, threatened and bullied on streets and buses, the constant target of slurs and of what was called among blacks the hate stare. All of the basics of daily living became humiliating, time-consuming struggles. Finding a place to eat or to buy goods, a restroom, a place to sleep. Seeking work wherever he went, he was constantly rejected. "We don't want you people," a factory foreman in Alabama told him. "Don't you understand that?" In the 6 weeks of his journey, Griffin learned with despair that blackness was not a color, but a lived experience. And from that, he wrote his searing memoir that remains in print today, decades after it was originally published. It's available in bookstores, online, it's taught in schools, still relevant after all these years. Still relevant, perhaps more than ever today. And this brings me back to where we began this morning, and why I think we boomers should be turning to you, our graduates, for advice. You see, everything that we know about you as a generation points to great promise. As millennials, you've been researched to death, and you may be tired of hearing about it, but it really is all good. First of all, you are the largest generation of the modern era, so you carry great political clout. You're the most educated generation in our history. You are idealistic, you're liberal in spirit, you're open to change. You're more ethnically and racially diverse than older adults. You are the most socially tolerant of the generations, and blessedly, the least self-righteous. You have a receptive, respectful attitude toward our vastly diverse society and its multiple lifestyles. It's really a pretty gorgeous generational profile. So now, having attended FIT, you, in particular, have some additional advantages. In your years with us, you worked and studied and lived and played in a heterogeneous city and a college community that exposed you daily to people unlike yourselves. You were taught by faculty that demanded the development of critical thinking that is so essential to civility. And you also have the great gift of creativity, of imagination. Without it, you would not have been admitted to FIT, and with it, you have the inherent ability to better grasp the human condition and to appreciate our universal brotherhood. So brotherhood, isn't that what we're talking about here? It is celebrated in one of our country's most beloved and patriotic songs. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Now those words were written by the poet Catherine Lee Bates in 1893. And when asked many years later why she thought her poem had endured, her answer was simple. Americans are at heart idealists with a fundamental faith in brotherhood. And so, to the class of 2016, I want to believe that this is true even today, and that you, with your confidence and your optimism and your open-minded idealism, can become the change agents that our country craves. Indeed, you have all the tools that you need to repair the angry, inflammatory, and infinitely sad soundtrack of the 21st century, to return civility and brotherhood to our lives, and to help make democracy thrive from sea to shining sea. So I wish you good luck on your journey. We'll be watching. I wish you Godspeed. Congratulations.